I'm Sean. Today we are going to be making something fun for fingerboarding. If you're into that type of stuff, make sure you subscribe and stay tuned because we're going to be making a really cool mini bowl. I've seen a few people do these. I've got some ideas in my head. I've got some scrap materials outside I want to use, and I think we're going to put something cool together. We recently started making obstacles for people to buy that are kind of cool, unique shapes. They have some cool art built into them, and I think they're a lot of fun. They're a little bit different than what's out there already, and we're going to try to keep it that way for new designs and stuff we make. But we do have a little small business where we are making stuff like that, so go check it out at SLM Builds. I think we have some fun stuff. We're really enjoying all the process of making stuff and seeing people's reaction when they get to use it. So for this video though, we're going to be building a bowl. It's hiding behind me. I've got it all almost finished, but I got the whole process filmed. I want to take you guys through it. I want to show you what I did and how I'm going to make this thing kind of last for a long time and be a nice solid bowl for a bunch of people to use. I plan on taking it to events and letting people just shred it. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned. We're gonna get right into it starting now. Hey, we're gonna be making this thing into something cool. So this is just some old expanding foam that I had lying around. I was actually trying to make a mini RC crawler course with that, and things didn't go to plan. So it's getting reused today. I took it and I carved it out like a bowl. I also have this pretty nice piece of wood that is pretty thick. I want to say it's getting closer to the 3/4 inch mark, which is going to be really solid. This foam actually helps it be really light, and what we're going to do is secure this foam really well, and then we're going to wrap it all in concrete in a sense. So I'm going to take you guys through that process, but I want to get started and clip you guys in throughout. So let's hop on into this thing. I think it'll be a lot of fun. So the first thing I need to do is get this foam secured to this board really well. That way it doesn't slide around someday and pop off like with all the concrete attached, because that would be bad. So I'm going to use some screws, I'm going to use some glues, and I'm going to get things stuck and then leave some screws just a little bit high so when I pour in the concrete it actually locks into the concrete, so it really keeps everything just there for a long time. So we're gonna get into that. I'm gonna figure out how to get it all set up and I'll show you guys what I'm working with. Alright, I'm gonna throw some of this Loctite glue. It's like extreme glue. I tested a little on the foam. It doesn't seem like it's melting at all, which is good. Sometimes the glues can make foam melt and that causes issues, so hopefully we don't have any of those. Fun little trial and error. Set this where we want it. Alright, I'm going to use some of these little gold screws, and I'm just going to drill them around into the foam, but leave them up just a hair, so when I do pour some concrete into here, it's going to just kind of set underneath that, and it's going to create like a locking mechanism, as you would say. One thing I'm actually super excited about fingerboarding related is I was able to snag one of the Swampzilla fingerboard decks. So I have a matching one to go with my actual full-size Swampzilla that I just posted a video about. So if you haven't seen me build that up, go watch that. I'm gonna write it soon, but it's been a little hot out and I've been a little bit lazy. So we're gonna have some fun with this for now, but I'm excited to get that in the mail from, I think it was Goo and Chems. It's a collab between them and heroin, so it's gonna be super sick. I'll show you guys that off. Hopefully we'll ride my little new bowl with it once it's all gets here and this is all finished up. I'm excited. So I got another idea for something that might make this a little bit stronger in the end as like a product wise. I'm gonna take some safety wire that you would typically use on like motorcycles and motors and stuff like that. And I'm gonna run some over and around and create almost like a, like they would on a real job site. You'd have your whole rebar structure inside of something. I'm gonna try to make like a little mini version of that. I already know that one good thing is all these holes in this foam are actually gonna allow for the concrete to pour in and lock into that and create like a really good bond. So I think that's all gonna work. I'm gonna make some more of these that I did on the board because I think those will really help lock the actual block down. And then once this is all secure inside, it's gonna lock down really well as well. So I think it's gonna be a cool, strong, not huge, just a small little bowl to play with, but I think it'll be a lot of fun and kind of easy to move around and get to events and stuff like that. A little screw in the foam up here. Not super secure right now, but it just gives us a little spot to lock onto, and then we have like a little rebar effect here. Pull this up and over, and I'm going into a screw that's inside of here. That's going to allow us to just lock everything in. And then I'm running the extra excess I have up here, just across the bottom of the little pool. just to give it more secure to all the other screws I put in. I think it's gonna be pretty darn good. As you can see, everything's secure on there, not coming off. And then I don't know, I think I'm gonna try to pour the whole thing on the outside, like cast it in concrete, or just mold it up and around and make it look good. Or I'll make a form and pour a form around this. We'll see how that goes. But first I'm gonna focus on pouring the center of the bowl, working my transitions up, and then I'll worry about the outsides when we get there. All right, this thing is definitely ready for concrete now. I haven't practiced with, but I think I'm on the right steps with this. I think this is gonna make for a super secure little mini bowl. And we just need to get to pouring, so let's go do that next. Okay, I got all my supplies, all my concrete stuff, and my tools ready to go. I'm thinking about ways to do this. I can either do, you could do a full pour where you get the whole thing at once, but that's a lot of concrete, and the way this stuff sets up, it happens really fast. So I'm probably just gonna do patches of it and work corner to corner maybe, and start on the bottom and work my way up one side. And then when I come back through for the outsides, I'm either gonna build like a form for it, like you would on a traditional like construction site, or I'll just mold into it by hand with a scraper and scrape up with it and form it. But I think a mold would look better, but it's a lot more work and a little bit more that could go wrong with that rather than doing it by hand. But it'll look cleaner if I do it that way. So we're gonna play with that. I'm gonna get mixing and I'm gonna start with a layer. Okay, so I think I'll start with a bigger batch for this first bottom section just to get some weight on it. So I've been playing with this stuff a lot, so I got a pretty good idea how much water I'll need. And you kind of get a feel when you actually start mixing the concrete by how thick it gets. So that's kind of what I'm working off. And then I use my little mixing bucket. I actually have a drill set up with a spinner bit on it just to save my wrist because you will get tired quick. I got a little bucket with water in it and then a couple little scrapers. And then I got my thing of concrete in a bucket next to me. So just the powder form. So we're gonna get to working on that. I'm gonna start mixing it up and see what we turn this thing into. All right, so my AC kicked on right here, and I'm sorry about that, but I got a little spoon I'm gonna use for these bottom transitions to hopefully make it nice, and then I'm dipping in water to really just kind of give it some, helps it pull it all to the top and make it all nice. Look clean. It's gonna help me in these corners a little bit too. Now I went a little low, that way I could build back up on top of my already existing layer, so. Okay, here's what it looks like, a little bit rough. Okay, I just poured a little bit more concrete in there and I'm gonna start working this stuff in now. A little bit of water and a little bit of just friction with something like metal. That's why they make scrapers and stuff. This spoon is just helping me get in all these little transitions though. I can build this coping up here a little bit, give me a little bit of an edge to work with, that'll be cool. Okay, here's stage one of the pour. As you can see, it's all foam still. The inside's all right looking. Definitely gonna do a little sanding, and I will be pouring some more into it and just smoothing out the top edges and building up a kind of a pool coping, which will be good. So off camera, I cut up some wood, these pieces here, here, and here, and I got my little pin nailer out. So I'm gonna use this as a form to make like an actual backing, and I'll pour the concrete in the back side of that around the whole thing once I build this form up. And that should give us a really nice outer wall. Now I just need to make sure I spray this with something non-stick, this board actually itself, because if I don't spray that, it's gonna stick real bad to the concrete. So I'll probably hit that with some PAM, nail it together, and then get pouring some concrete in the edges. There's one. All right, those are in there. They're just real small nails, so I gotta keep them close. Okay, so I've decided I'm gonna do one half at a time, and I'll pop this off once I can get it out, clean it up. But I'm gonna pour this back corner and as much as I can forward, and then I'll come and do the opposite from the opposite side. And I think it's gonna work really good for us. Get the first half poured. I think it turned out really nice. I gotta do a little bit of sanding. I've already done a little bit just to get it started, but now I need to form up this other half and get it poured, and that will be my next step. But as you can see, this bowl's starting to come along. I did a little sanding inside, but it actually turned out pretty good. It was a little bit rough. It always kind of looks that way until you start working it in, but then you kind of come around to the point where you start figuring it all out. So if you guys are trying this for the first time, definitely just be patient. Give yourself, start small and stuff too. Start with a couple little mini obstacles so you can kind of give yourself some room to learn and work with concrete a little bit. This is gonna be fun. Got that one all greased up. Get these put together. I want this to pull in tight to this edge so it all kind of matches. My girlfriend's working on a little custom mini rainbow with some splatter paint on it. It's gonna be a fun one. For me, I am ready to pour. I've got this thing propped up on a little block. As you can see, those will be the holes that I'm gonna be filling with cement and shaping the bowl. And then about halfway through the drying process, I can actually pop the form off and clean up the sides, which is kind of what I did on these. And they look pretty decent. There's a nice big chunk in here I kind of filled in, so it looks a little better than it did before. But it's all coming along. All right, that feels pretty good. Let's see if I can get this in here smoothly now. Kind of have to help it work it in a little bit. Take this one, get this working in here. I'll work all that inch in a minute. Just trying to keep making sure this top is nice and level. Okay, so this is kind of what it's looking like right now. I know it looks rough, but we're gonna make it all look perfect. All right, I'm popping these molds off right now. This back one's a little stuck. There we go. As you can see, that looks pretty damn good actually. Not bad. I gotta work on this little seam right here, a little nugget. Okay, this is a total mess, but things are coming along pretty nicely. I'm getting all these seams filled in, the bowls patched back together. I'm gonna start just doing the final little rubbing with a little sponge and some water, and I think it's gonna turn out real nice. I'll show you guys in a second. Okay, the pour on this thing is almost completely finished. I got a little hole on top I gotta fix, but here it is. I do need a lot of sanding just to get these edges down, but it's already got a nice edge, like a smooth transition to it, so that won't be too bad. I'm just gonna have to get in there with some sanding blocks and some sanding paper. As you can see, the way I formed it up worked pretty good. It wasn't a completely like level pour because I did it in multiple pieces, but that's okay. It kind of adds to the uniqueness of it. I sanded down the outside edge a little bit, and I'll clean that up, and then I'll keep sanding this, and at some point I'm going to throw a clear coat on here. So stay tuned to see what this turns into. That's kind of what some of my other stuff has been turning into, so I'm really going to try to make this look real pretty and almost like a little art piece. So if anybody ever wants to buy it, they could kind of display it, and it would look really cool somewhere. So alright, this thing is all finished up. It looks super sick. I had another little accessory to it with this little block right here. It's from one of my other molds I've been making. Parking block, like chain gaps with them. I got 2 of them. I painted them. They look really cool. Go check out our Instagram. You'll see some on there. But yeah, I added one onto here, and it's actually kind of a cool little thing because it's just in there on a little post. So my thought is, I had a little bit of missing concrete. I said I was going to patch. I started thinking about it. I was like, why patch it? Why not just use it for something? So I made this little post that slides in. It's nice and heavy. It stays pretty good right now. If I ever needed to, you could 3M it or something like that just to get it to hold a little better. But for now, this thing is freaking sweet. I'm having a fun time ripping around on it. Here's a couple of my setups I rock all the time. I got this Callier Jake PFB Pro set with the dynamic 32s. I think these are Ill-Pill, some tan Ill-Pills. These are pretty cool. It's a cool little look with the camo. I got a little Freak from Slush Colt / TP Dex with just some cheap hex trucks on there, but some Ilpil. No, these are Puro, I think, Street Minis. That's a fun one. That actually works really good in this bowl. And then my last board, that is honestly the one I've been riding the most just because it kind of works for me the best, is the Chakra fingerboard. It's a 34. I've been putting some work in on this thing, beating it up a little bit, and I really like this one. It's just a bigger board. I want to try a 36 next though. I think I'm a big guy, I got big hands. I want to try something a little more my size. But yeah, this little side thing is cool. So yeah, this little post is a lot of fun too. Kind of just gives you a little bit more to do in here. You come up, bounce back in. It's nice and smooth. The edges are nice and smooth. So you can kind of do some grinds. And yeah, this bowl turned out really good. If you guys are interested in making something like it, I definitely suggest kind of practicing and then figuring out what you want to do. But honestly, it's a lot of fun. I think you should try sometime. Here's a little bit of a closer look at the edge too. I think that's something I'll get better at over time, is kind of the way the concrete forms and settles. One edge, this edge actually is pretty good, but I think I did this one in a single solid pour from like here to here. That was like the last section. This was my first one. I wasn't sure what I was working with for concrete, so it gave me a little bit of a different outcome to the way it looks. But honestly, for my first like full bowl build, I think it turned out pretty good, and I think the next ones are going to turn out even better. So if you guys are interested in seeing any more stuff like that, make sure you subscribe, make sure you follow, and I appreciate you watching. Thanks for being here, and I hope this helped in some way.